Part 41. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 402. There are a lot of 4002. What's wrong? Did it hurt you? Yekong looked at her like this and didn't dare to move. Zhang Wei finally couldn't help, crying, holding Yekong's neck and crying, "Wu, sons, you must be nice to me, I can never build a foundation, Wu." Yekong was startled. What happened again? Why can't we build a foundation forever? Zhang Wei sobbed. Master said, after doing this, losing Yuanyan, it will be even more difficult to succeed. With my current qualifications, I am afraid that it is useless to build another Keaton. I was worried about this. Yekong stroked her soft black hair with her hand and laughed softly. Those are nonsense. I lost Yuan Yang at the age of 15. Hasn't Zuji succeeded once? Anyway, that's it. Do NT worry about it, another one is useless, let us have 2 more, 2 are not useful, let us have 3 more. Yeah, Zhang Wei laughed again, with a smile in her tears. Fan Quan scolded someone and scolded him, you say it easily, do you think that Zujiden is a sugar bean? It's hard to get another one now. However, someone laughed innocently, laughed, reached for a storage bag, and took out a white porcelain bottle from the inside. Extend your hand, Yekong said. Zhang Wei was stunned, could it be that the heart was built? No, although he often has amazing moves, but building Keaton is not so easy to get, and if he had already, he would NT give it to me? However, Zhang Wei still held out his hand. When the turquoise pill fell to her palm, her eyes widened. God! It's really Zujiden, I'm not mistaken, I was so worried, he turned out. But the surprise is not over, just listening to someone asking again, enough. After shaking another hand, another Chiquitan rolled out. What's wrong? Still expressionless, isn't it enough? Another shook his hand, and another Chiquitan rolled down. Zhang Wei was going crazy as he watched the pieces of Zujiden falling from his hands. What is this guy doing? Everyone else can cause a fight, but this kid is worthless, and 5 of them are poured out. You have to know how many monks are going to die for these 5 little elixir. Is this really for me? Zhang Wei stared at her eyes and couldn't believe it. Of course someone nodded firmly. Yeah, Zhang Wei was excited. It was so good. She never expected that she would have so many Chiquitan. With these Chiquitan, why worry about not being able to build a foundation? It was spring for a while, and I didn't know how much time had passed before sitting quietly. The 2 were not in a hurry, so they hugged and talked about each other. Yekong knew that Huang Zixuan had successfully built the foundation, and now he has entered the battle. He was a little depressed. He knew that he would meet with Cucumber Mime a few days earlier, otherwise he would have to wait for 2 years. When he knew that Xiu Jianguang laughed at Zhang Wei with sarcasm in words, he would jump up and find Xiu Jianguang desperately, dare to be impatient with Lao Tzu's woman. However, Zhang Wei held him back, saying that Xiu Jianguang had succeeded in building the foundation and had already entered a large array of practice. If he wanted to find him, he would have to wait 2 years before speaking. I heard that Xiu Jianguang also entered the battle, Yekong sneered, Xiu Jianguang, and you are not over. Then he talked about other things. Yekong asked the Niujindaio if he knew the master. Who knew that Zhang Wei's face was really blank, and then he laughed, of course he did. However, Yekong still felt the change in her complexion and just wanted to ask again. Zhang Wei said first, Kuriko, I heard that you have a buddy who hasn't been through the door before. Presumably this Zujiden was given to you by that buddy. Since knowing that Li Hezi is probably the fanatic Yekong, Zhang Wei paid more attention to Yekong's information. In this way, it is easy to find the relationship between Yekong and Lian Rulan. Thinking of this relationship, it is easy to explain that Li Hezi has so many Keatons. The most important disciple of Linjiao Mountain, a master of refining medicine, is it not a hand to take out these elixir? Look at those elixir, most of them are different. The bluish-white color of those elixir is more pure, and it is obviously an intermediate level Zhujidan. The effect is better than ordinary Zhujidan. If you originally used this Zhujidan to build the foundation, it is estimated that it will not fail. This further proves that these elixir comes from the interior of the mountain of elixir. Listening to her question, Yekong was also embarrassed. He also forgot to ask about the Niu Jindayo, and he muttered in his heart that Zhang Wei found his identity. The two have a relationship now, and Yekong doesn't want to hide her, but at this moment directly explains that it may cause other negative effects. He neither denied nor acknowledged, but nodded, exactly. Although it was not acknowledged explicitly, it was also acknowledged. Zhang Wei finally confirmed that brother Heza was Yekong, who she had always admired, but she was a little lost in her heart when she was excited. He's used to the dark face of brother Heza. If he changes to his original shape later, can he still get used to facing an unfamiliar face? Brother Heza, although that sister has not yet come through the door, but Wu Yi dare not claim to be arrogant. When she is together, she will always be Wu Yi's sister, and I will not fight with her. Zhang Wei thought about it. What a good girl. Ye could not help but be so touched, originally thinking about agreeing that Lian Rulan would not pick up her elixir. It's okay now, not a pickup, but just a sister for her. Someone comforted himself like this. After the second opening, the two returned to Dongfu together. On the way back, Yekong asked about the inverse feather carving again. Zhang Wei just explained that the original gold carving recognized the master, but he actually recognized the blossoming girl. When Yekong heard the anger, he originally had an opinion on the girl who was a big devil and a big milk. Now this girl even grabbed Zhang Wei's inverse feather gold sculpture, and he was very annoyed. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 403. 403 Leaves Empty Array. I know this little girl wouldn't do anything good in Dongfu, Yekong angered. You listen to me. Zhang Wei glanced at him and glared at him again. To say that this girl became a woman is just to add a mature woman's style. A variety of styles of white eyes can make someone angry. When Zhang Wei said another time, Yekong realized that the whole thing could not be blamed. Zhang Wei waited until the gold carving came out of the shell to build her foundation. The gold carving began to recognize her as the master, but the relationship was not close. Zhang Wei saw that he recognized the Lord and went to retreat. Who knew that the golden eagle was not the true Lord? It played with the blossoms every day and naturally became closer to the girl. And most importantly, Zhang Wei also gave the middle-level spirit beast Dan to blossom, let her eat the golden carving. In this way, when Zhang Wei went out of the customs, he actually found that the Niu Jindayo was betrayed, and he recognized the blossoming as the main, and ignored Zhang Wei at all. Although Yekong didn't blame the blossoms after listening, he was still very unhappy. He wanted to fight with Lin Tian Wu Shiyun for your own life, and finally got the benefits of this golden carving. Now that the benefits have been taken up by others, how can he accept it? Wei, you can rest assured. The middle-level spirit beast Dan is nothing. My husband has a high-level spirit beast Dan. I will give you a few tablets at once, and I will let the inverse feather golden carving be obedient, Ye said. Forget it. Zhang Wei is also very good with the blossoms these days. Seeing that girl has such a deep relationship with the golden eagle, if she really snatches the golden eagle from her, Zhang Wei can't bear that heart. The golden eagle has two minds and recognizes the Lord and betrayed. I don't want that unfaithful guy anymore. Zhang Wei found a reason. But I can't be so cheap to others. Ye was still very unconvinced. He always took advantage of others, but some people took advantage of Lao Tzu. Oh, forget it. Zhang Wei hugged Yekong tightly, and his eyes were full of begging in autumn. Men can't stand this look. Yekong can only give up, and his mouth is angry again, then don't pay that girl salary. Well, there is no bonus. Zhang Wei giggled. They walked all the way back to Dongfu and looked at the familiar small fruit circle. Ye Kong seemed to have a feeling of going home. Zhang Wei said, if you see it, it's all handled by blossoming girls. This medicine circle has not faded, but it is more flourishing than before. Is it embarrassing to deduct artificial money? That wouldn't make her so cheap, either. Ye Kong didn't look, and hummed into the small building. Entering the quiet room where Zhang Wei lived, Ye Kong saw a pure white cover on the table at a glance, picked it up and sniffed. A virgin fragrance came out. The size is not small, Wu Yi, when did you like white? Zhang Wei quickly snatched it from his hands, cursing blushingly, when you see this thing, you pick it up, this is not mine. Oh, it's Xian. Ye Kong thought, Huang Xian didn't like to use white. It's Dodo's girl. Ah, so big. You are big. Hooligan. Zhang Wei put away the cover, and then said again, do NT be hostile to other little girls? In fact, she is not bad except for the fanatics, and we are also from her. Hear the news? Ye Kong asked quickly, what did you hear? Zhang Wei said, Duo heard some news, saying that people who came out of this battle will have to do a dangerous thing, very dangerous, but the opportunities are also great, and after the success, Fuzong and even all his disciples are of great benefit. Ye Kong picked up a juicy spirit fruit and took a bite. I heard, what a secret. Zhang Wei said, and there is, Dao Du also said, this time Zhong Nei regards you as the best candidate for the task. This is the first time that Ye Kong has heard that it is really possible for Cao Guang to treat himself so favorably. No, Zhongli has so many baby ancestors and Jidan ancestors, why don't they go for such an important task? I heard that you can only go in under Qidan. Ah, Ye Kong couldn't help being cautious. He was unwilling to do the cannon fodder. He lowered his head to think about it. If it was really Subdandan, then he really had to send himself. Duo said what was the mission, Ye Kong asked again. She didn't know, she said that Cao Muking was guessing what the task was. Oh, Ye Kong bowed his head and said nothing, thinking, let's see then. Whoever treats me, I treat others. Cao Guang treats himself quite well. If he can do it, it is not bad to help him, but if it is too difficult, don't blame the buddies for desertion, we will never do the death. Probably seeing Ye Kong's thoughts, Zhang Wei hugged his arm, put the pink face on his shoulder, and whispered, no matter how you plan to respond, I will support you, but you still have to hurry up and work hard to improve, for in any case, only repair is the most important thing, and improving to the next level means a little bit more security. Well, Ye Kong nodded. After 3 days off, I will return to the battle. No. You still hurry back, everything is cultivation oriented. Zhang Wei has been worried about what task, afraid of Ye Kong cannot bear, and said, you go, I also need to hurry up to build the foundation and strive to build the foundation as soon as possible. I can also enter a large array of practice for a year and a half. Ye Kong Gong had a relationship with Zhang Wei, so he was reluctant to leave, but Xiao Chili was determined, and Ye Kong had to fly back to the front in advance. Watching Ye Kong drive away with his golden broadsword, Zhang Wei murmured, hey Zi, I will work hard to improve Xiu Wei, and I will accompany you to carry out that dangerous task. 9 turns lead to the Ling array. Cao Guang, a white-haired and white-bearded man, sits cross-legged on the hilltop platform next to the light pillar of the palace. Suddenly he felt something. With his eyes open, raising his hand was a trick, and a golden light was allowed to fly into his palm. Cao Guang explored the spirit into the note and immediately knew the news. Is there any news over there? Cao Luoxiu and others flew up and asked in a low voice. Yes, Cao Guang nodded, waved a hand, and put a soundproof restraint around several people, and then said, This is the nephew's confidant Lu Xianxia forwarded from Zhongli, but a secret report from the north. Cao Luoxiu and others took the note one by one. After reading, everyone looked very strange, some looked forward, some excited, and some worried. Cao Luoxiu finally sighed, they finally do it? Shall we just watch them do it? In fact, I think we should stop them. Sujanai nodded, everyone said that there are risks and opportunities, but, if one is not careful, it will bring a huge catastrophe to the entire Kangnan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 404. 44. What about that? One person or monk is dead. Don't you know how many years no one has soared in the Kangnan continent? After Wei Yun Changzong came to Kangnan, more than 100,000 years, did another one soar. Cao Luoyu's view was different from them, and immediately retorted. But that's too risky, Cao Luoxiu said again. Watching the two of them arguing, Cao Guan quickly commended, two masters, don't fight, even if we think there is a risk, those guys in the Dead Yin sect will not give up, and other martial arts in Kangnan mainland are afraid most hope that they will succeed, and then a canary bird catches cicadas. These selfish guys, I now understand why so many supernatural monks in ancient times were beaten by the demons and fled here. They are too selfish. Too afraid of death, Cao Luoxiu said angrily. Cao Luoyu smiled. Sister, it's useless to say that, now we have to plan some countermeasures. When Ye Kong returned to the battlefield, he met Zhongzihong, the real person at the door of the battlefield. Ye Kong had to call his uncle before, and now he is also a brother. Hey, brother Li Hezi, how about a 3-day holiday? Why did you come back in one day? Zhongzihong asked with a smile. Well, don't say it, was kicked out by his wife Ye Kong hid haha. Zhongzihong laughed, although Master Wu Yi is a bit hot, it's not unreasonable. I'm afraid you've hooked up with other sisters and nieces? Haha. The two laughed and chatted for a while. Ye Kong suddenly whispered, brother in charge, dare to ask brother Qiu Jianguang where the stone room is closed. Zhongzihong has been in charge for many years. When someone asks, he immediately knows what is going on. He smiled bitterly at the moment, don't embarrass my brother here, I don't know where he is. It's okay. You don't need to say anything. As long as you point it with your finger, I won't pass it on. You just said that everyone had beaten their brothers. Are you unwilling to help? Zhongzihong's heart was extremely depressed. Damn, he had to be careful with this person in the future, and he just bite into a word. Brother Li, the so-called enemies should be solved or not. I think everyone is the same, so let's just forget it. I want to forget. He doesn't want to forget. Ye Kong waved and interrupted, taking Zhongzihong's shoulders and saying, the real person in charge, help me, pointed out, rest assured, I promise not to fight him, just let him come out and talk God, drink tea, or something. I believe you are called a ghost. I'm afraid to tell you, you have to fight immediately. Alas, this Li Hezi is not easy to mess with. Zhongzihong shook his head and said, Sister Li must say nothing, I will not say anyway. You and Qiu Jianguang have resentment and don't involve me. I think you will wait for 2 years to go out and talk. Ye Kongli originally hated that guy. Before hearing that the boy humiliated Zhang Wei in public, he forced her to go out for half a year, and Ye Kong became very angry. Now back to the battle, of course Ye will not be so happy to let Qiu Jianguang practice with peace of mind. Without killing him, he would have to stir up. He could not cultivate. Well, since that's the case, then it's not hard to be in charge of brother. Ye Kong loosened Zhongzihong and walked casually to a bottom stone room. Brother Li, what are you doing? Zhongzihong asked in surprise. Kick one door at a time, I don't believe I can't find the turtle grandson. His ancestors, dare to mess with my wife, I'm with him. Don't, Zhongzihong was bitter in his heart. If so, I'm afraid the whole battle will be chaotic. As they tangled, they heard a cold drink on the top of the mountain. What a mess. Looking up to see Cao Guang and a few ancestors of the babies out of the sound barrier, Zhongzihong was relieved. Our ancestor, Master Li Hiza, will look for Master Qiu Jianguang as soon as he comes. It seems that he is not good, and the disciples dare not tell him, so he is going to kick the door one by one. Zhongzihong hurried forward and reported. Cao Guang also knew that Yekong was not a good thing to find Qiu Jianguang. He waved to Zhongzihong, and then called out, "Spots, talk up." Yekong Fei went up to the platform, and the other 3 Yuanying monks left in a hurry. I wonder what they were all busy with. Master, that Qiu Jianguang is too bullying. While I was away, I laughed and mocked my aunt in public, bullied her as a female protagonist, and even issued a private challenge, making Zhang Wei difficult to go out for months. Really awesome. Yekong said. So what are you going to do? Stir my big battle? It's a jerk. Cao Guang was also a little annoyed today. This boy's temper is too bad. If he is not there, I am afraid he will disturb the dogs and dogs. Cao Guang's tone was not good, and Yekong was not in a good mood. At the moment, he said, "Master, if your priests are so insulted by others, should you think it hasn't happened?" Cao Guang was furious. Junk. Yekong simply said something, and said, "Master, I know, don't you just want to train a suitable candidate for the task? Qiu Jianguang has a sinister heart, is vicious, and is absolutely unbearable. I am afraid that he will not only be able to contribute, but also do small moves behind your back." After hearing Yekong's remarks, Cao Guang's deep old eyes flickered, his face eased slightly, and he asked, "How? You have the right candidate." The old man was playing a puzzle with himself. Yekong hummed, "Isn't the master already determined in his heart?" Cao Guang laughed again with the sentence, "So, this person is already willing to accept this task?" "It depends on the task," Yekong continued. "In short, I think Qiu Jianguang is definitely not suitable for this person." Cao Guang shook his head and said, "You don't know, this task is not done by one person. At that time, it will go through a series of wars, and even the whole story will be dispatched, so I ask every disciple to try to improve, and the candidate in my mind, take a team of people to complete the most dangerous part of this task." Cao Guang was pretty good to himself, but did not make Yekong feel that he could kill him. "Master, I don't think you want to let your only apprentice die." Yekong tilted his head and looked at Cao Guang. Cao Guang smiled and said, "In fact, many people and I have said that this is not only a crisis but also an opportunity." Cao Guang asked, "Don't you want to take off?" Yekong knows this sentence. He has a full set of 5 elements Ascension Sutras, and is he still worried about the ascension? Of course, this is his biggest secret, and he certainly won't tell Cao Guang. "Master, I have heard a word saying that there are as many risks as there are benefits, but sometimes there are benefits that take several times the risk. If this matter is successful, the benefits will definitely outweigh the risks." Cao Guang smiled, but asked another irrelevant content, "Hey, do you want to endure Dan?" "Of course. Then you know what a monk who wants to bear Dan is busy with during the foundation period?" Cao Guang asked again. This question jumps too much, and Yekong really doesn't know, shaking his head. To the reader. At the request of Taoists, the confession wall service was started. Baby Bear has to say to Brother Yang, "I'm sorry, it's the younger sister's fault, and unpleasant things go with the wind." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 405. 45 Mission Reasons. A monk who wants to become a Buddha, the busiest during their foundation period is to collect materials for refining magical weapons. You must know that the magic weapon's attack power is far better than the magic weapon. Which monk does not want to hurry to have the same powerful magic weapon? Many the monks just didn't understand the truth, and they didn't think about it until after they became acquainted. The final result of these monks was either to be killed or to make a waste material magic weapon, and regret it for life. Cao Guang made a lot of sense. Yekong could not help but nodded, but he asked in confusion, "Teacher Xie taught, but why did Master suddenly talk about this problem?" Cao Guang didn't answer, and asked with a smile, "What do you say?" "I know and ask you." Yekong guessed, Master means that many high-level treasures can be obtained in that task, which can be used for refining magic weapons after the budding. "That's right," Cao Guang nodded. Many people don't understand this. Even after they have established a dandelion, they haven't figured out what magic tricks they need to practice. They lost time and missed opportunities, so I think we should start thinking about it at the beginning of foundation construction. Magic weapon. After Cao Guang finished speaking, he raised his hand and took out 5 or 6 turquoise jade pieces, saying, "These are some powerful methods for making natal magic. You can choose one." Yekong glanced around and found that what was recorded inside were some powerful magic weapons. Although these magic weapons are not as powerful as the 5 elements sword formation, they can all be called boutiques, and they are not as powerful as those of monks who have become masters in Bingling Mountain. If I'm not mistaken, the materials needed for these magic weapons will only be found at the destination of that task, right? Yekong asked back. "You are clever," indeed. Cao Guang nodded and said, "For more than 100,000 years in the Kangnan continent, all kinds of spirits and treasures have been consumed, and even some spirit beasts have disappeared, so many of the great cultivators now have these. Jade Jane cannot be refined, and that mission is rich in resources. It has not been touched by anyone for hundreds of thousands of years. Whoever arrives first will definitely get rich." Yekong was shocked. Wasn't Columbus going to find a new continent? To do this, you can try it. "Master, I'm a little tempted by what you said." Yekong swallowed and asked, "Why isn't everyone rushing for such a good thing?" Cao Guang laughed, "Why isn't everyone rushing? You don't know, Linjiao Mountain, Qingming Valley, Lianqi Sect, Hehuan Palace, these famous factions are all moving. I didn't expect that what I was worried about turned out to be a great thing." Yekong still didn't believe it, and asked, "What the is that place?" Cao Guang didn't answer, but smiled slightly, walked slowly to the end of the platform, looked at the far north with a negative hand, and spoke 4 words. "Kangbei Continent." Ah, how did Ren Yekong imagine and couldn't imagine that it was the Kangbei Continent for a long time? "Is that place so good? Isn't Kangbei occupied by Moxiu?" Yekong followed and asked. Cao Guang corrected, "There is not a demon, but a demon. There are good people among demon cults, and even those with a ruthless mind can communicate. The demon is born of human enemies, not my race. I without killing him, he would kill me. There is no reason to speak. It seems the task is arduous." Yekong was so scared, he asked tentatively, "Are these demons very powerful?" "Yes, the demons are inherently fierce and brutal. They are known for their strength. The ancient books record that the demons also have spells and instruments, but they are not proficient. They are hard and powerful, and ordinary spell attacks have no effect on them. When you are born, you have the strength at the beginning of the foundation." Spit. Yekong was not vomiting blood, it was vomiting blood. "Master, what do you mean? After I pass, I can only mix ages under 3. That is the book record. When it is not true, it is better to trust the book than to have no book." "Then I would rather trust the book." Cao Guang said angrily, "Do you think I will let you die?" "Tell you, Cao Junfan, my grandson will also go. Rest assured, we have a set of exploration plans, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, the demons over there back to their realm. Ye Kong hummed. How can there be such a good thing? Cao Guangdao, why isn't there such a good thing? I just said that the demons pay attention to refining, and many natural treasures are useless to them. Think about how many treasures there have been for hundreds of thousands of years. By then you will want what magic weapon is not easy to practice? Ye Kong thought about it, and also said that the 5 elements sword array that he was going to refine, all of which needed materials were rare and hard to find. I'm afraid I could only find them in Kangbei. Then what is our mission? Will it not be to conquer Kangbei and drive away the demons? Ye Kong asked again. Your task is also very simple, that is to find Yun Fuzong's ruins in Kangbei, from which to find the practice of Yuan Ying. Cao Guang said after looking at the distance. Kangnan has been too long, no one is sorrying, because all the martial arts lost the way of Yuan Ying in the battle of immortals and demons. That was intentional. Ye Kong suddenly remembered what Shi Shiren said to him in Wuxingguan. At that time, the second child, she said that those exercises were because a powerful person in the upper world hated Zikang Xingren. Deliberately, the purpose was not to let Zikang Xing fly. Even those demons were released by that person. Alas, I don't know why the man has such hatred against Zikang Xing, it is really abominable. However, these Ye Kong can't tell Cao Guang, otherwise the old man must ask, how do you know? Ye Kong reminded him again, Master, all the majors have lost their practice after Yuan Ying. How can there be such a clever thing? I am afraid there is a deeper secret behind. I thought about what you said, but the opportunity is here. If I don't try it, I'm not going to die. You won't die. I will die first. Ye Kong has made up his mind at this moment. Observe it at that time. If he still has success, he will do it. If he does not have success, he will run away as soon as possible. The two chatted. Cao Guang told Ye Kongmo to pass the matter on to others. Only a few monks in the whole family knew about it, and no one knew it. Then Cao Guang still told him that Chiu Jianguang was in the quiet room, but hoped that someone would take the overall situation as the most important thing, and later he said, don't make other people in the big team also be disturbed. Ye Kong found that the quiet room where Chiu Jianguang was located was not far from the quiet room of the old man Lin Tianwu, and his eyes turned, thinking about it. Master, I will listen to you, let him go, Ye Kong said generously. Cao Guang also knows someone's personality, but as long as the kid doesn't mess around in the big team, then forget it. After all, Chiu Jianguang is too much and deserves to be taught. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 406. 406 To explain magic. Finally, Cao Guang asked again, you have to write down the materials needed for these kinds of magic weapon refining. If you encounter them at the time, prepare for them. The materials and methods of the high-end magic weapon are also intimate. Cao Guang wanted to give him as a gift, but someone returned jade and Cambodia. Master, I want to make a magic weapon. Hearing that someone was going to refine the suit magic weapon, Cao Guang shook his head and disagreed, saying, although the suit magic weapon is very powerful, it also has many disadvantages. When Ye Kong heard it, he immediately noticed, and only listened to Cao Guang's remarks. First of all, the refining method of the set of magic weapons is very difficult to find. Many refining methods of the set of magic weapons are even more than one ancient treasure, so there is no even a teacher here. Ye Hollow Road, don't worry about it now, buddy is ready. Then Cao Guang said, secondly, the destiny magic weapon in our body should be nourished by the Yuan God, release the offensive enemy, should be controlled by spiritual power, the master manipulates, and must be controlled by the Yuan God. General monk of the Dandan period, Yuan God like magic power control, It can also be used flexibly, but if there is a large number, the spiritual power does not continue, or the Yuan Shen cannot control. If there is a long battle, it will appear flaws. So I do nt think spiritual power and consciousness are not superpowers, are still better to use a single piece of magic. Oh, this is the case. Yekong nodded. His spiritual power and consciousness are both super strong in the same level. Do nt worry about it? The only thing to worry about is that the practice of the 5 elements ascension is too slow. I don't know when I will get to Jadan. However, Yekong believes that he will end up with a dandelion. The 5 voodoo magic spit out in order to form a sword array, that is really good. Then Cao Guang said the last shortcoming of the set magic weapon, the materials needed for a high-end magic weapon are already difficult to find. If there are several types, it will be even harder to find. Moreover, once the destiny magic weapon is determined, it cannot be changed, and it is too late to regret it. I once heard that a certain predecessor was going to refine a certain set of magic weapons, and he did not find all the materials until his death, and the set of magic weapons was incomplete and could not exert its power. It was not as good as a single magic weapon. In my life, I did wait until the mood was blown out, and finally I did not forget to tell future generations, never use a suit magic weapon. That was the case. Yekong nodded and said yes. The last bit of material is hard to find. It's true. Thinking about the weird materials that the 5 elements of the sword array and 5 flying swords can cause headaches. However, according to the records on the jade and camouflage, if it is really refined, the power and general magic are incomparable, making people fascinated. For this reason, it is necessary to visit the northern part of Kangbei. After all, there have not been mined there for hundreds of thousands of years, and various materials must be abundant. It is much easier to find the materials needed for the 5 elements sword formation than in Kangnan. With this idea in mind, Yekong nodded to Cao Guang and said, "Master, I will work hard to practice and take the team there." Cao Guang laughed, "It's not finalized yet, why can't you wait?" Yekong also laughed and walked off the platform. Time flies, and 2 years pass. In the past 2 years, although everyone was practicing in peace, many things happened during the period. The first is Zhongwulan, the blue sky is ringing, and Yezindu is building the foundation. Although their qualifications are just average, they have been training for 3 years in a large array of such auras. It is difficult to build foundations. Most of the 100 gas disposal disciples who entered the large array with them have also built foundations. The only Donger, because of her incompetent qualifications, it is difficult to improve only by practicing the 9 layers of gas refining. Everyone is scared, but for Donger, she is very satisfied with the current situation. Besides, she is still young, and in the future, she will have some opportunities to break through the bottleneck of the 9-story building. The second is that Zhang Weii has also built a base after taking a medium-level Zujidan. She entered the large array of cultivation in the 3rd year of the large array. She is trying to improve her realm and can help Yekong in future tasks. Busy. Everyone else is advancing and moving forward, but Qiu Jianguang is depressed. He entered the large group and started to practice. He took a sigh of relief, wanted to improve himself, and stepped on Li Hizi under his foot. Depressingly, one day after 3 months, during the practice, he suddenly collapsed the floor and fell from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor. In fact, trauma is a trivial matter, but monks are the most vulnerable when they meditate. The aura was very strong in this array. The backlash of the spiritual force was also extremely severe. Qiu Jianguang was seriously injured and had to be carried out again. Later, according to the investigation, it was found that the floor under his meditating feet was rotten by unknown ants, and after investigation, it was found that the source of the ants came from Lin Tianwu's quiet room. Lin Tianwu and Qiu Jianguang have no resentment. It is impossible to say that it is impossible for the old man to frame Qiu Jianguang. Everyone guessed that it was someone's ghost, but there was no evidence of suffering, and those ants and insects disappeared. Cao Guang and others were puzzled. The floor of the black gold stone was so hard. What powerful ants did somebody release? Even the gods unknowingly smashed the floor into a sand-like shape? It seems that someone is still a bit of a ghost. In fact, Ye Kong Kong wanted to let the gold-winged ants rush up, and he just dried the kid, but he didn't think about it. After all, killing people in the big battle made the matter big, forcing Cao Guang to investigate clearly and give an explanation to the clan. Although Ye Kong sometimes does things regardless of the consequences, he has always been coarse and fine, and he can always grasp the points. The aura in the large array is indeed abundant, and the practice can be described as doing more with less. All the disciples' cultivation has risen very quickly. Among several good brothers, Xiu Kaofeng, who has the most qualified land, is the best qualified Cao Junfen. This kid can't do PK, but he is a good baby who has cultivated for 3 years. In the later period of foundation building, he had to admire the cultivation ability of this person. Li Ruo, who has been practicing like him for 3 years, is not weak. He has risen from the first floor of the base to the 5th floor of the base, and advanced to the 4th floor, which is also an upper qualification. Also with good qualifications is Huang Zixuan. Although she has not practiced for a year, she has also reached the peak of the 4th floor of Zuji. If it had not expired in 3 years, she might have caught up with Li Ruo. The other men's foundations were a bit late, but it was 1,000 miles after the foundation was built. Zhang Wulin advanced to the 4th floor, and Lan Ming and Ye Xian were all 3 bases. Even Zhang Wei, who entered last, was out. A few days before closing, the 3-story building was advanced smoothly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 407. Exited in 1973. To say that the slowest cultivation is still a certain black person. After building the base for another 2 years, this boy actually broke through only 1 level and built the 2nd level of the base when he went out. It seems that the 5 Elements Ascension Classic is indeed the first slow practice in Kangnan. However, Ye Kong was not in a hurry. Although Lao Tzu practiced a little slower, but on spiritual power, on divine knowledge, on PK, who is Lao Tzu's opponent? I can still play like a pig and eat a tiger. Although Ye Kong had the least improvement in level, he gained no less than others. First of all, after 3 years of practice, Dao has already approached the transformation period. If it lasts for another year and a half, she may become a little girl. The second thing to say is the golden-winged ant. The stuff has been taken orally for more than 2 years, and it has been pulled and eaten. Each one has grown fat and strong. The white wings are already covered with capillaries. If you let out a group of people, you can see a golden light from a distance. It seems that these guys bite people and would not be polite. Finally, Howling Wolf King, in the past 3 years, this guy has eaten the 99 souls in the 100 souls. The other 90 are mortal souls, the remaining 9 are monks, and there are monks in the foundation period, so the Wolf King guy digests slowly. 90 mortal souls have been devoured, and the Howling Wolf King has also advanced. The white fluff on the chest has begun to turn blue, and he has also realized a new wind spell, the Extreme Cyclone Blade. The wind blades that were hit were all spinning, with much greater power and scope. However, Ye Kong is still expecting the Wolf King to develop more powerful skills. Similarly, although Ye Kong didn't increase his rank much, the manuscripts in Zifu turned up 2 pages, and there were 4 powerful spells in front of his eyes. They were metallic golden cloud mask solar symbols, but cast a wide range of golden clouds and group defense magic spells. The water-based water-changing dragon spell, according to the introduction, can transform the water dragon attack and do not know which one is better than Daewoo. The ice-type quick freezing spell can instantly freeze the opponent, and the attack the powerful high-end spell of the fire attribute is actually the meteor fire rain spell used by Fire Kirin, and it is not known if it is released as fierce, but it must be stronger than the intermediate Firebird spell. With these four powerful spells, Yekong Li was also relieved. Many powerful spells in the Kangnan continent have been lost. These spells are absolutely shocking when released. However, with the useless method of drawing, and corresponding blank note paper and the spirit ink of the system, for the time being, he can only sigh. Although not available, the emergence of these four powerful spells gave Yekong more confidence, and at the same time, he looked forward to the spells appearing behind him. With the release of the last spiritual power of the top spirit stone in the large array, the 8 beams of light around the large array also quickly dimmed until they finally disappeared. Then, the beam of light in the Nakamiya collapsed weakly, and the majestic aura gathered in the large array disappeared instantly. The Juzhuan Yinling array was completely stopped, and Cao Guang and several Yuanying ancestors were not idle. In order to prevent others from sneaking into the Juzhuan Yinling array, they had to put all the flags in the array. It was ruined, and there was a loud noise all around. When Yekong walked out of the stone room, everyone was shocked. Everyone thought that the kid should have risen at least 5 or 6 floors. He thought that he would rise to the level of refining gas a year and build the foundation by the way. How fast is that? Everyone was guessing how many levels he could go up, but no one guessed right. Everyone's most conservative estimate was that they would go up 3 levels. No one would dare to say that they would be scolded. Unexpectedly, this boy has only risen 1 level in 2 years, which is really amazing. What's wrong? Are you experiencing a bottleneck? Zhang Wulin and others gathered up with concern. Only 2 bottlenecks were possible in the 2nd level. Yekong knows his bitterness, and of course it's hard to explain, so he nods bitterly. Someone was frustrated, someone saw the distress. Zhang Wei hurried up and said, "Don't be discouraged, you have so many opportunities, and the bottleneck will be passed through safely." Yekong laughed, took a little pepper, and asked, "Do you look like I'm discouraged now?" Someone behaved this way, making Huang Zixuan even more intolerable. I thought, how good is Brother Gazi, even if he encounters a bottleneck and pain in his heart, he doesn't want to show his worry. Brother Hiza, you are so admirable. The Cucumber Crush was so moved that he took the initiative to stop someone with a soft waist. Some Sunspot is still wondering, I have risen a layer in 2 years, what is there to admire? Do you think you practice too fast? Looking at someone who hasn't made much progress, they can attract beautiful girls and embrace, but some people are not convinced. Brother Hiza, can you see my cultivation? The 7th floor of the foundation construction. The late foundation construction. Can you see it? From the front, behind, and from the side Cao Junfan stood in front of someone and twisted. You're not beating the kid for 3 years, Piang is not. Shall we go out to find a place? Sidhu what? Yema people mercilessly Cao Junfan though love showing off, his heart still afraid someone's, this guy is not a normal person. 8 layers of gas refining can defeat the 9 layers of the base. Now he builds the 2nd layer of the base. Cao Junfan knows that his cultivation is not enough for him. Yes, I know how to fight and kill, I dare not compare with me. Cao Junfan hid aside and comforted himself. Yekong laughed, okay, I'm better than your head office on cultivation. After that, he suggested, I think everyone might as well go to Surabaya city today to celebrate, not drunk or return. Okay, everyone agreed. What? That kid just came to the 2nd floor of the building base. Cao Guang, who had just destroyed all the eyes of the large array, heard the news. His expectations for Yekong were not small, but he didn't expect the boy to rise to another level in 2 years. Cao Guang was startled, and continued to say to Zhongzihong, keep saying, well, Don't be too detailed, just give me a total. Zhongzihong said quickly. After 3 years of large-scale training, there were 78 people who built the base for the 120 practitioners who practiced gas before and after the battle. 29 of the 59 base-building monks who entered the training area Jadan. If the number of light monks and monks is equal, Wei Yunfuzong can now be called the number 1 Kangnan school. After listening, Cao Guang laughed. It seems that the 9 revolutions really inspired the spirit array, and he didn't hesitate to spend all his efforts to get it. But Zhongzihong smiled bitterly, but these 9 revolutions have cost too much. It's been 3 years, and the eyes need the top quality spirits. The disciples have increased the amount of elixir, and there is so much to build. Ning Jindan, it took me a rough calculation, at least 4 million spirit stones. To the reader. 39 degrees Celsius is still the code word. Taoist Friends Bricks recommended tickets are sent. Next week is about to increase the number of outbreaks. For specific chapters, it depends on the enthusiasm of Taoists. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 408. 48 Linjiang Tower. Although he had been prepared, Cao Guang frowned. 4 million spirit stones, which is not a small number for such a denomination. However, the more troublesome thing is, Zhongzihong said, at present, adding so many foundation building and monk-bearing monks, the worship has increased a lot, and the most worrying thing is, so many new foundation building, where to go? How about Dongfu? Cao Guang frowned again. This Dongfu is a problem. Although the Yunfuzong area is not small, each piece is classified. You can't make Dongfu everywhere, but the back mountain where Dongfu was concentrated cannot hold it. So many people. Let us go back and see if I can adjust a piece of land in Zhongli. Cao Guang thought and said, what did he think of, and asked, what about Litsize? I did NT see me when I went out, did NT I think there are fewer levels of promotion, sorry to see me. You will be ashamed, he will not be ashamed. Zhongzihong smiled bitterly. As soon as he came out, he took a few friends to go to Surabaya city to drink and celebrate. Negator, Cao Guang roared suddenly, scaring Zhongzihong and quitting quickly. Zhongzihong had just gone, and Cao Luoxiu walked in. Cao Guang was not good enough to get angry again, so he hurried forward to salute. Cao Luoxiu laughed. Cao Guang, who are you angry with? Cao Guang then said, it's not my villain. The boy has practiced a layer in 2 years. I don't know what I do in the quiet room every day. And after leaving the customs today, I didn't even see him, so I followed a group of fox friends and dog friends. Went for a drink in Surabaya city. He has improved 1 level in 2 years. Sugianyi and Cao Luoyu were also unbelievable, and then they thought of a possibility. Is it because he has reached the bottleneck? Well, this person's spiritual roots are very poor. Either Wollingen is 4 roots, it is already a miracle to be able to build to the 2nd floor of the foundation. Yeah, I know that, too. Cao Guang nodded and sighed, and then resentfully said, you said you encountered a bottleneck or encountered any trouble. You sue us and let us take your idea. No, I don't know if this kid is lacking in heart, and he took a lot of people to drink with pleasure, and I don't know what this villain thinks. Seeing Cao Guangqi humming, Cao Luoxiu laughed. He is not in a hurry. What are you in a hurry? Then he said, as far as I can see, this man is cunning and deep-minded. He has more eyes than anyone. How could it be a lack of mind? Cao Luoyu also nodded. In my observation, in the past 2 years, the spiritual force cyclone above the quiet room has not stopped for a moment, which means that he has been practicing. If he really reaches the bottleneck, he will not be able to absorb the spiritual force, let alone such a momentum. Vast cyclone. Cao Guang's eyes brightened. Yeah, he has been absorbing spiritual power, but he absorbed it that way. Why is there only 1 level of ascension? Sujinyi thought for a moment and said, there are three possibilities. First, the immortal instinct that absorbs the aura might be a fairy bird and a fairy pet. If he is really the madman Yekong, don't forget that he still has a mutant beast. Even if he is not Yekong, the mysterious ant that he used to frame Qiu Jianguan can see that he will definitely have other fairy pets. Second, he deliberately suppressed Qiu Wei using elixir or some secret method, with the intention of keeping a low profile or evading the task. Third, I've heard of some basic cultivation exercises, which require more aura than ordinary monks, and the time it takes to practice is particularly slow, so I suspect he is practicing that exercise. Uncle Su is still thinking carefully. I didn't think of these. Cao Guang thought for a while and said, but the three are not the same. If Li Hezi is really practicing the kind of exercises, why is the gas-making period so fast? Total can't change the work after the foundation is built. Also, if other spirits absorb the aura, even the mutant beast will not have such a strong suction. Finally, he said that he deliberately conceals cultivation, and it is impossible to avoid the task. I look at him very heartily. Cao Guang dismissed Su's three speculations, and they all bowed their heads to think. What's the problem? Cao Luoxiu even smiled. This geeky and brave kid really had a lot of secrets, even the four ancestors of the ancestors couldn't guess. The three thought for a while, but at last they couldn't think of a reason, so they had to drop this section and start talking about business. What's going on with the dead Yin sect recently? Cao Luoyu asked. He was a standard radical, and he wished to open the passage there earlier. Cao Guang said, just after we received the latest news from the dark pile we were there, they stopped. Cao Luoyu was startled. Why? Didn't you say they have enlarged the space cracks last time? However, Sujinyi thought the most carefully, and laughed. We have dark stakes over there, do they not have dark stakes in us? It must be that the guy who carried the coffin found that other big cults in Kangnan continent are following them, so they paused. Especially for us, when we found so many Zuji and Jidan disciples, 80% of them stopped in guilty conscience and wanted to see us move. Cao Guang laughed, since they are afraid of us, let's drive those disciples down the mountain. Linjiang Tower, the largest tavern in Surabaya city, is located on the third floor of the tavern. It is built next to the river. Although there are many monks coming and going in Linjiang Tower, as the monks coming today are so big, it still makes the boss of Linjiang Tower become more tense. According to his observations, these are all Yunfuzong's disciples. Yeah, especially the middle man, Wu Jinyun, is obviously the core disciple in the inner hall. Are several immortal masters drinking spirits or spirits? We also have a variety of Jiangxian, including low-end spirit fish. Yu Chengfeng hurriedly sent the menu with a smile, but also added, use gold, silver or spirit stone, checkout will be done. The style of martial arts is even better than that of Nguo, especially for everyone practicing spiritual martial arts, which also requires some spiritual stones. So many items in the shops of Surabaya city have two prices. Oye Kong took the recipe and handed it to several nuns. Although it has been 7 or 8 years since he came to Kangnan, he still has certain habits of the earth. Ladies first. Ye Kong's gentlemanliness is unavailable to men in Kangnan. Naturally, some female nuns are very happy, and Li Ruo said to Zhang Wulin in a low voice. Click. Zhang Wulin smiled bitterly and learned from him. Be careful, I will also bring a third wife and 4 wives back to see you. The female monks are busy choosing dishes and drinks, while the male monks are busy chatting. Cao Junfan asked, hey, have you really encountered a bottleneck? Talk about it. Oh, I'm not making fun of you, telling everyone to take your ideas. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 409. 49. Seeing people. Ye Kong certainly didn't want to talk about this problem, perfunctorily said, well, I don't know. When you need to get your ideas, I must say, okay. Then Cao Junfan asked again, but Ye Xian pulled his sleeves and shook his hand, meaning you do nt want to open any pot. Cao Junfan immediately understood the embarrassing smile and listened to Lan Tianming saying, today, we are celebrating everyone's substantial improvement in cultivation. Do nt say things that are unhappy, do nt say things about cultivation, just talk about Fengjiao and offenders. Cao Junfan laughed, okay, I confess my punishment, he said again, tell you, in addition to the river view, this Linjiang Tower has a view. The crowd looked at it immediately, what else? Cao Junfan laughed, that's the drama of Linjiang Tower. Hey, don't bother shaking your head. That drama is not an ordinary drama. I guarantee you have never heard of it. The owner of the restaurant waiting on the side, Yu Changfeng, quickly said, yeah, we are performing new dramas in Linjiang Tower, not those old books. Yu Changfeng said in a low voice, mysteriously, the inventor of this kind of new drama is also a great monk. He is the young master Kangnan Yekanjai 8 who is being hunted down by various martial arts. Yekong listened to it, but did not expect that the secular world here was spreading his name. He did not expect that he was such a bull X. He actually changed from a Kangnan fanatic to a Kangnan fanatic. When he didn't pay attention, he just saw Zhang Wei's ridiculous eyes. Yekong busy said, boss, you're wrong. That Yekong is just an inexhaustible gas refining minor repair. How can it be called a monk? He's crazy, he's simply not a fairy. The boss became more tempted to hear people vilify his idol, and his heart was upset, but the person in front of himself couldn't afford to offend himself. So he said humbly, you immortal masters, we ordinary people do not understand those who are in the state of cultivation. We only know that Yekong loves the people like a child. In order to save the people, he has to fight against hundreds of thousands of enemies with his own power, afraid that the people will be bored. This new play was invented. Therefore, we all think Master Ye Ba is a good fairy, a big good fairy. I heard that some places have built the 8 Masters Hall for people to incense, hoping to keep Master 8 safe. Ye did not expect that he was respected to such an extent that he was turned into a mud tire, which made people fragrant. Isn't it almost like Buddha? Watching someone smile with a lot of black flowers on his face, Zhang Wei gave him a white look, and a small hand stretched out, and he struck someone's thigh hard. Someone converged and said, the eyes of the masses are clear, well, I still trust the masses. Cao Junfan laughed, I believe that the masses will watch the new drama that the masses love to watch. Okay, the other monks all agreed, and they all wanted to see what drama the mad fan Yekong could compose. Zhang Wei was even more interested. He didn't know that his man had this hand before. Only Yekong is indifferent. Those plays are all written by him, which is not new at all. Besides, this is the Surabaya city of Wu country, which is far away from the southern capital of Angguo. It is already afternoon in the afternoon, there is no meal, no business, and naturally no one sings. However, the boss took the time to arrange it and let the actors to sing. When the actors arrived, the party was already here. The first was to punish Cao Junfan for a few cups, and then Noisy to fill the honest Ye Xian. Zhang Wei clipped a piece of fried golden fish fillet to Yekong and said, this is Wu Guo's special deep-fried lamellar fish. This lamellar fish is very peculiar. After being dissected, the fish has many layers. Good to eat. Oh! This fish? It's unheard of. Yekong took a taste, and it tasted really good. But it would be better if a small amount of ketchup is applied. Of course, ketchup is not used in the Kangnan continent, and Ye has no time to invent them. While eating vegetables, Huang Zixuan, who sat on the other side of Yekong, asked again, Brother He, haven't you watched that new drama? I have heard others say that it looks great. That drama is different from the old one, no longer blind the Emperor's Prime Minister, the gifted lady. I heard it was a group of street rascals. Zhang Wei looked at someone with big talking eyes and said, of course he loves to watch. He was a street gangster, and he paid protection fees. Huang Zixuan didn't know that this kid was Ye Kong, and she laughed. I knew Brother Zizi would like to watch it, and he knew it. Ye was ridiculed by the two girls. He smiled and said in a low voice, you don't understand, real hooligan likes watching pole dance, you don't understand, just stand in the middle of Taiwan a steel pipe, then a young woman wearing only a bra and little pants, dancing around the steel pipe. I'm awkward, indecent. While the two girls were staring, someone apparently felt that each left and right thigh was hit. Just as they were talking, the actors and actresses over there had already arrived. They wanted a relatively large hall. There was a place for performance in front of them. Usually, a literati was listening to music and painting. Although it was a bit small, it was used to acting is barely enough. When the actors came in, Ye Kong apparently noticed that one of the women looked familiar, but just happened to see Ao Junfan to persuade him to drink, and after watching it, the woman no longer knew where to go. Maybe I read it wrong. Ye Kong lowered his head and started drinking again. Subsequently, the performance began, and everyone's eyes moved to the small stage. Soon, they were attracted by the kind of show they had never seen before. After all, the plays they have seen in the past are really tedious. Such plays with different contents and expressions immediately aroused everyone's interest. When Ye Kong looked at the scene at the beginning, he couldn't help thinking of the various scenes in the southern capital, Lu family brothers, Feng Xiniang. Every scene was like a world. Ye Kong was relieved that the drama here had learned the original southern capital's drama in the same way. The acting was good. When the heroine appeared, Ye Kong knew why the drama here was in the Nanchun City Tibetan Spring House. The play is almost the same. Because of this woman, he knew. To the reader, 39 degrees Celsius is still the code word. Taoist friends bricks recommended tickets are sent. Next week is about to increase the number of outbreaks. For specific chapters, it depends on the enthusiasm of Taoists. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 410. Homesick Hometown. The woman who acted as the heroine was exactly the woman who acted as the heroine in Zhangchunlu at the time. It seemed that she had a leg with Lu Yi at that time. The name Ye Kong could not be remembered, which made people unexpectedly meet the woman here, and did not know how she came to Wu country. Boss, stay and help me arrange things. I'm going to meet the heroine alone. Ye Kong said that while everyone was watching the show. He pulled the boss over. There are often rich people who are watching movies, and want to have a spring breeze with the heroine, and the better the wind is, the better. Xianxia, wait for her to go down, and I will arrange it right away. This play is a man's play, women's play is not much, the actress will take a long time to come to the stage after the end, so you can arrange them during the show meet. Looking at the expression of the boss obviously smiling with color, Ye Kong knew that he had misunderstood and didn't explain much. He smiled and returned to his seat. After a while, the heroine went down. On the stage, the two brothers were rounded up by officials. Ye Kong knew that this was the main event. No one would notice him, and he quietly walked out of the room. How's it going? Ye Kong asked. The more windy the heart said, this immortal master is really an anxious temper, and can't wait to play. Quickly smiled and said, Xianxia, all arrangements have been made, please follow me. Ye Kong nodded, and listened to Yuchen Fengdao. King Mei's girl heard that she would serve the immortal master, let alone be happy. Hearing the name, Ye Kong nodded again, as if it was the name. But the boss said more and more embarrassing. Ye Kong still explained, don't say more, the real person just wants to ask her something. Ask the situation? Can't you ask in front of everyone? Che, who believes? Yu Chengfeng thought, took Yekong to a small room on the third floor. The room had a scent of aroma, and there was a veil of light yarn. There was a small round table with some dried fruit snacks on the table. The woman named King Mei was sitting outside the table waiting. Xianxia, you play slowly, no, talk slowly. Yu Changfeng hurriedly walked out of the door and closed the wooden door. Yekong had changed his appearance. Of course, King Mei didn't know him. When he saw the immortal teacher coming in, he quickly got up. Xianxia, is you going to take a bath first or wait for you to rest? King Mei lowered her head. Although she was always unwilling to accompany a man, the other party was an immortal teacher. Not to mention sleeping with Xianxia, she thought it was a very blessed thing. But apparently Xianxia didn't want to do this blessed thing. Yekong smiled and sat on the carved round stool and waved his hand. King Mei, don't you think about it, in fact, I came to you today. It is really pure conversation. You sit down and talk. Oh, King Mei lowered her head and sat down, wondering what she wanted to talk to herself. Looks like there is no common language with Xianxia. A few years ago, I traveled to the southern capital to see you play and meet old people, so I invited you to come and tell, Yekong said. Wouldn't it be better to go to the couch together? King Mei really wanted to taste the taste of Xianxia, and it was impossible for Yehi to have a relationship with her. Tell me about your experience over the years. How did you end up in Wu Kingdom? Yekong asked again. Hearing about the past, King Mei told a bitter look. On that day, the Emperor and Guo ordered the inspection of the Ye family, and the Tibetan spring house was also damaged. Feng Xiniang was arrested and the Tibetan spring house was sealed up. Those Yingyingyanyan also lost their shelter, and some even sold some silver money they had accumulated. Did not bring it out. King Mei's heroine couldn't be regarded as a heroine either, so the exiled folk married a businessman as a concubine. Later, Yekong returned to kill Xianxia and resist the brutal army. She was also in the city. Later, the merchant took her to Wu State to do business, and left her in Wu State. Who knew that the merchant never returned to Angguo once? King Mei had no livelihood and had to come out again to perform. Speaking of which, Yekong also sighs endlessly. These girls are also pitiful. If it is not for themselves, they are still in the Tibetan spring house, although that is not a good place, but after all, it is a place to live and settle down forever. Right. Since King Mei left Angguo behind her, she will surely know some news later. So Yekong asked, is there still a connection between Lu Feng and her mother Lu Yi? When asked about Lu Yi, King Mei was confused. At that time, she and Lu Yi knew not too many people, and did not know how this immortal teacher learned. However, she still honestly replied, the slave family later married as a woman and had no connection with them. But I also heard some news about them at the time. I heard that the major schools of repairing immortals were hunting down the eighth master, Feng Xiniang, and others. I didn't dare to stay longer and left the southern capital. Where do they go? Yekong asked quickly. King Mei shook her head. Yekong asked again, the new emperor of Angguo must be hunting them down. King Mei shook her head and said, that's not true. If there were no Master 8, then the new emperor would never be an emperor and Master 8's thunder means had already scared them. How can they dare to make trouble again? Even Ye's old house is still there, and no one dares to move. Yekong nodded relieved, and sighed in his heart, it really is that people are afraid of ruthless, ghosts are afraid of evil, if they did not hate a little, they are afraid that the old lady and the brothers of Lu family will eventually suffer. Then Yekong asked some more information. Unfortunately, King Mei didn't know much and couldn't answer it. Yekong had no choice but to give up. Thinking that King Mei was here, Yekong was also a little apologetic, and gave her a lot of silver in the storage bag. With this money, she could also set up an industry and make a living. Although she didn't get the favor of the fairy, but got so many silver too, King Mei left with gratitude. Back in the hall, The drama was still being performed, but Yekong's mood was obviously worse. He drank from cup to cup. Since seeing King Mei, he felt a sudden guilt in his heart and another impulse. Thinking of his aging mother, his woman still didn't know where they lived. He hated not being able to cross the mountains and rivers and rush to them. Say sorry to them and say, "You have suffered." However, there are tasks ahead. Yekong thought again that the mission was related to the refinement of his magic weapon, Cao Guang's attitude towards himself, and his future position in Yunfuzong. But he was alert immediately. When am I selfish enough to give up my love for magic and status? Isn't that the same as those monks in the Kangnan mainland? That's my mother. It is a woman who loves herself and waits for herself. No. Nothing can be more important than them. Yekong immediately made a decision and returned to Angwo to find them in the shortest time, and settled them, no matter how important and beneficial the task is. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 411. 411 by Jie. Thinking of her own woman, Yekong thought of Bai Jie again. She is also her own woman. She hasn't seen her for 3 years, so she must have waited very hard. Wu Yi, you are here to watch a show. I went to see Sister Bai Jie. I haven't seen her for 3 years, and I don't know if she's okay, Yekong said, slightly hitting Zhang Wei with his arm. Unexpectedly, Zhang Wei even laughed and said, "Don't go, you can see your sister Bai Jie when you return to zone tonight." Yekong busy asked what was going on, and Zhang Wei told him that Bai Jie had set aside business and entered the school. "I'm not saying, don't let her give up her ideals for herself." Yekong suddenly became angry. Bai Jie's inability to enter the sect was a trivial matter. The key was that he could not stand his own woman being such a mean and selfish person. Zhang Wei smiled bitterly, pulled Yekong out of the hall, and explained the details. It turned out that in the middle of the second year of the big battle, Bai Jie's Xianxia shop encountered some trouble. Several monks fancy her facades and forced Bai Jie to change places and reopen. Bai Jie already has a good reputation there. Besides, where can I find the shop temporarily? Bai Jie was naturally reluctant to leave, but how could a mortal resist some immortals, so she had to go to Yunfuzong to find someone to help. At that time, Zhang Wei's foundation building was successful, so he helped her understand. The matter has just ended, but something new has happened. Bai Jie Zhenzong was discovered by Zhang Wei's master Cao Muse. Now these new women's bras have become popular in Surabaya city, and Cao Mose is also wearing it. I heard that Bai Jie was the first maker of those clothes, and of course Cao Muse kept her chatting for a while. After a chat, everyone was very happy. Cao Muse not only hoped that Bai Jie would stay in Yunfuzong, but also accepted Chen Baixuan as a disciple. But later he knew that he had worshipped Li Hizi, so he just stopped. However, under the arrangement of Cao Mose, Chen Baixuan officially entered Yunfuzong and became a disciple of the inner court. Nothing is more important than her son. Bai Jie took her son into the ancestor without thinking about it, and she also transferred the store to others. Sure enough, parents in the world, Bai Jie is to enter the case for Chen Baixuan's kid. I am afraid that she just gave up her ideals, and seeing her son can enter Yunfuzong, she will have no regrets. Yekong nodded. Huh, there were still people who were stern to me, Zhang Wei said pretentiously. Yekong quickly laughed and said, which man does not want his woman to be that kind and gentle and understanding? I was afraid that you would also become a viper beauty who is selfish to disregard other people's thoughts at all, even if I will guard you. Zhang Wei was not angry, yelled, "Cut, you know to call me kind and gentle, and don't look at yourself. I don't know how bad my temper is, I get angry every time, and someone Cao Junfan, don't bully others." Yekong laughed, I owe it to him. I have a bad temper, but for a family, there is only one bad temper, and others don't dare to provoke it easily. But if two bad tempers, then the life will not be easy. Alright. Hearing life, Zhang Wei blushed and yelled, who wants to live with you? You still live with your sister by Jier. Huh, a viper man. Zhang Wei ran away after leaving someone to mumble alone. How did this girl know about herself and Bai Jier? Because the play is relatively long, there are several games, and when it's all finished, it's already night. Although the meal ate for a long time, the boss did not dare to feel any dissatisfaction when the wind became more windy. When they left, leaving a lot of money, it made Yu Changfeng and the actors happy. Size, Yekong is really a talent. It's so amazing to compose such a great show. I want to join that dragon and tiger gang to make a little junk. Cao Junfen kept muttering all the way. Everyone is a young man. It's when the blood is boiling, so they all praise the new drama, and they are humming the smoothest words in the drama. This makes someone's vanity huge. Satisfied once. All the way back to Zhongli, everyone went back to their homes. If there was no Dongfu, they went to their respective Shizun Dongfu. Huang Zixuan also returned to Cao Muse's Dongfu, leaving Yekong and Zhang Wei to go to the Dongfu. Back to Dongfu, they found that Bai Jier had fallen asleep, and they did not alarm Bai Jier. Zhang Wei didn't speak, and walked to his room. Someone naturally followed. Zhang Wei knew what was going to happen. A pink and blushing face. Since the relationship happened 2 years ago, there is no other affection. Zhang Wei didn't know if he wanted to, or not, he felt very shy anyway. What are you going to do in my room? Zhang Wei blushed and walked into the room. Of course it's time to do it. Someone looked at the little pepper with discomfort. I'll do it with your sister Bai Jier. Zhang Wei sat down and ignored him. Yekong certainly knew that Zhang Wei was pretending to be angry and sat down next to the little girl's fragrant body, smiling. I and Bai Jier are very innocent, you know that. Clear S. Even her son saw you doing that kind of thing together. It's nasty, you don't even know that you are carrying children. Yekong listened, and his heart moved. Chen Baixuan really was dead. He believed that the kid would never say it by accident. He must have done it on purpose. The dead boy seems to hate me very much, and even Laozi's husband and wife relationship must be provoked. Looking at Yekong's hairpin, Zhang Wei hurriedly said, hey, don't retaliate against Xian'er, he is still a child, and accidentally said that he was leaking. A child is a child, but it is by no means a leak. Yekong didn't say anything on his mouth, just smiled, relax, why can't I get through with a child? I am his master, and of course he will be better for him. It's pretty much the same.